Hi Sharon, it's so nice to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Elijah. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. And thank you, like I said earlier, thank you for honoring the invite. It means a whole lot. Thank you. Okay, Sharon, I am quite excited to have you on the show for some reasons. Alright. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking, because I believe in order to transition from a chaotic situation to that of a beautiful one, it takes the application of knowledge, quality information. And ever since I discovered that in the Hebrew, light simply means knowledge and darkness means ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking, which will make this our conversation very important to me and to the audience too. Now, the second reason why I'm excited to have Sharon on the show is for the sake of my audience. I believe there are some things that Sharon knows that some of my audience needs to hear you say these stuff, directly from your mouth in order for them to experience transformation and get unstuck. I believe so. And lastly, that is me, I am convinced that I'm definitely going to learn one or two things from your story, your insights, and your experiences. So for that reason, Sharon, I want you to view us, and by us I mean myself and the audience. I want you to view us as your student, and you are our teacher now. We want to learn from you. Okay, so for that reason, let's get started with your introduction, your journey. Talk to us how you got here. Then afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Sharon, over to
Excellent. Well,
you.
okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate your invitation, and I really share that value of education and knowledge being transformative and really making all the difference. That was my own experience. I was a kiddo who grew up in California in a family with five kids. I'm the oldest. And we were a low income family. My dad worked for the railroad, but it was a struggle. It was a struggle. I had the privilege and blessing of being in the same home throughout my childhood, but there was a lot of chaos in many different kinds of ways. I knew by the time my dad, our family motto was save your money. And it was always the message he wanted us that, we needed to be responsible for ourselves and to save our money and to, if you wanted something, then you were going to have to pay for it. So that really meant by high school, I was working part-time jobs and I was hustling I had a little cookie business in ninth grade that I started because I realized the student store was selling the giant chocolate chip cookies for $2. And that was crazy in my mind. So I started baking my own because we could get the dough at a discount from we had a cooking school in town that taught students baking, and I would buy the dough for pennies on the dollar per cookie, and then I'd put these cookies into bags and take them to school and undercut the student store, selling them only for $1, and I was
Hmm.
making a mint every week. At least, to
Wow.
me, I
Smart
went
move.
from no money to like $50 a week just selling these cookies. So until the school realized they were really seeing a loss in their own sales, and they found me and said, "That's the end of that." So that is understandable, but it gave me the idea of like how business works, and it gave me a little taste of the success that you can have. So I knew education and knowledge was going to be my ticket out of poverty. I needed a profession that would teach me something. I went to community college for 2 years, and then I transferred to a 4 year state college to finish my degree. And that was in communication disorders. My goal was to become a speech language pathologist. That required a master's degree. So after that 4 year degree, I did 2 more years in speech and hearing sciences. And then I was able to go out and work as a speech language pathologist. And in that what that means is it's not a job you hear much about, but it's in the rehab setting where if someone has a stroke, they're the ones who teach you how to speak again. If you are a young child and you struggle with stuttering or how to say certain sounds, we're the ones that would work with the child to fix that and teach them how to do it. So, and then there's a wide range of people who have neurological issues. So it's really working with people who are struggling with communication in either as kids to adults to the elderly. And so I did that for 10 years. And then I thought, well, I'm going to start my own business because it was time for my daughter to start school. And I had no idea how I was going to be sitting at my employer's desk at 8 a.m. when I was supposed to not drop her off till 8:45. I'm like, do I leave her on a street corner? Like, what happens? So I ended up, I was married to my first husband at the time, and he and I had worked half time each to keep her out of full-time childcare until she went to school. So then he went to work full-time, and I started contracting independently. So I was looking for contracts to do my specialty. And then I found there was such big demand. I started hiring my friends who were also speech pathologists or physical therapists and convincing them, hey, why don't you take on this little contract? And we ended up, it grew. I held the company for 17 years and I sold it after that point. We had 100 employees and we were in 6 states by that time. And I was very fortunate, a great success. And then I sold it and I'm now kind of mostly retired. And here I am. So I have to say I was very interested in your podcast in part because of the faith-based component of it. And I really made the big important decisions in my business were based on my faith, my Christian faith. And we had 4 company values that we ran that I told everyone, if you could make the argument for making a decision in your whatever you're facing based on one of our core values, then that, you're not going to get in trouble for it. We might reorganize the decision or go in a different way, but you're never going to get in trouble. And those core values, the first one was putting kids first. I believed if we always put our client first, even if it wasn't in our best interest in terms of business, that was the right thing to do. And that was important to me. So if instead of trying to convince somebody, oh yeah, we can do it, I would refer them to someone else if it was the right thing to do. Providing quality was just, you have to do your best. You have to show up. You have to do your best. It doesn't mean you have to be perfect, but I expected people to always be on and engaged when they were there at work. And we also believed our third quality was providing, or not providing, but practicing some work-life balance. I didn't want people to work. I mean, so many companies expect people to work 6 days a week practically, why don't you work some extra hours? Or there's so much work, they never hire the other person. And so this person's working on the weekends to catch up with their stuff. And I knew that you needed to be grounded in your own life and that should come first before your work, before I could expect excellence from you at work. So I really wanted people to, if our contract said you work 7 hours or 8 hours, that's it, go home. There'll always be more work. So don't try to get it all done. Just go home. Yeah. And then our final quality was give. I'm a big believer in giving. And we actually started our whole sales mentality, our sales team. I directed them to operate from a place of giving. Figure out what we can provide someone we may want to do business with before we ask for anything. So if we were looking for a contract with a particular school district, we might introduce ourselves first by sending a box full of free books or free lunch kits for low income kids. Lunch bags, those they're reusable now. They're all like, the lunchbox is no longer a metal tin, but so, or free coats in the winter. I really believe if you start from a place of really sincere giving, then people are open to hear, like, who are you? Others do not operate this way. So, that felt really good. So that's a very
Mm,
long-winded way to share my story, but that's kind of who I am and what I was doing to get to where I am now.
beautiful. What a great and interesting story. And you see, your core values, made me remember Jesus' attitude and principles. I tell you, that part where you mentioned that work-life balance, that's like empathy. And the part you said about giving and all of that, you say, I love that. That's a good one. And you see, I really envied you. You mentioned when you were at school and how you discovered a problem and you provided a solution to that problem. You know, the other party that was selling the cookie for $2, and that was horrible. And you came and you provided a solution, and now the result was amazing that even the school started noticing that, okay, something is wrong somewhere. That tells me that in order to get wealth, you just need to discover a problem and provide a solution. And you see, wealth will start coming your way. And I really wish this stuff can be said louder for a lot of people to hear it. I dare you. Okay, so
Oh, it's so true.
you wanted to say something? Yeah.
No, I was going to say exactly that. Business is nothing more than solving problems.
Problems,
And,
I tell you.
people talk a lot about innovation, but a lot of, and, in the tech and discovering something new, the majority of businesses are really just kind of working with what's already here, but realizing it could be done better. And I talk to a lot of young people about business, and I say, you don't have to invent something brand new. You just have to find a better way. The old saying of, you have to build a better mousetrap. That's really what that means, is you don't have to invent the mousetrap. You just have to figure out how to do a better job. And it's then more appealing and more people will come to you. So one
Yeah,
of the
that's
things that
right.
made us appealing, in my company, was long before the pandemic days. This video conference thing is so the norm now. Everybody has done it now for years. But my company before then, we found that kids in rural areas really didn't have the same kind of access to quality specialists. And so they wanted, sometimes, like, traveling nurses. They might have a traveling specialist go to see them, but you couldn't always find someone. And I came up with the solution of, well, what if they come out and work for just several days a month, and then the rest of the time they work with kids or others, adults, on camera? And that was really not, it's hard to imagine that even now that was a novel thing, because we do it all the time now. But that was really different. And it was a, an approach that brought a highly skilled professional to kids that needed help. And the result was kids got better faster, even though the professional was not there every day. And so it it was really just figuring out how to make yourself valuable by approaching a situation in a new way.
In a new way, I got that. Okay, so we have just two questions to go. Are you ready, Sharon?
Yes.
Okay, so can you talk to us about the money fact that parent needs to teach their kids, but they don't?
Like, they don't know what to do. I
Yeah,
missed
like
that last part.
okay, like the money fact that parents should teach their kids, but they don't, they don't know it or they don't teach them.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Great question. After I retired, a big passion of mine is personal finance. which is just paying your bills and knowing what you have and what you can spend and what you should do to when you save some money, what do you do with it? So I wrote a book called Cradle to Credit, and it's Money Lessons Birth to 18. And it combined my professional training of what I know about kids and child development with my passion on personal finance. So, because I ran into so many parents, and so many parents say, well, I'm not happy with what the schools are teaching, but I'm not sure what to teach. Or their only solution was, well, I give kids an allowance and I tell them, you better not waste it. But they don't really, yeah, they don't really learn sort of what a family budgeting experience is, so that when they live on their own, they know how to make the decisions. And so I think it's important. First of all, the very first thing I tell parents is, when you're thinking about what you have to teach kids, first reflect on yourself. And you really have to understand, am I a spender? Am I a saver? Because unless you teach your kids differently, they're going to do exactly what you do, because it's what you're modeling and showing them every day. And so I think when you have a better understanding of, okay, what have I done well with when it comes to money? Like some people will say, Sharon, I can always find a job. I'm a really good income provider. I can provide for my family. And I said, well, what is it that you're not so good at? And they might say, I don't know anything about investing, or I've made mistakes with credit cards. And there so many families, or I've made a bad loan decision, or I had to declare bankruptcy. And so many families have so much shame about those mistakes that they don't want to talk to their kids about them. And I said, oh my gosh, that's the exact opposite of what you should be doing. If you have made mistakes, it's okay to tell your kids, I have made mistakes at times, and I wish I would have done X differently. But because what you want to, it's an opportunity to talk to kids. It doesn't devalue you. It really makes you the teacher to say, here's what I know from real life experience and what I would encourage you to do differently. So it's one thing, parents tend to lecture a lot, which, I'm a parent, we all do it, telling kids what to do, but we need to pause and explain why. And I think if it's because you've learned a lesson from it, that's a valuable lesson to share. So but politics, religion, and money, everyone says you shouldn't talk about any of those. And I think you should talk about all of them.
That's right. That's right. I got that. Okay. So we have one more to go. Okay. So let us
Great.
get personal a bit. All right. So what was the first thing that you did with your wealth when you sold your company?
The first thing I did, this was very exciting for me. It was really the best day of my life, was the birth of my daughter. But after that, I really say that it was the day I sold my business and all the money was wired into my account, and they call it officially, I got funded. I turned around, because I have four brothers and sisters that haven't been as fortunate as myself. They have different kinds of needs, and they're all good people, but they just haven't had the same opportunities with wealth that I have. And I turned around and I sent them hundreds of thousands of dollars each. And I said, no questions asked. I said, if you ask me,
I love that.
I hope that you will, help. I really believe a ticket to the middle class is home ownership. So I said, if it'll help you buy a home and keep a roof over your family's head, that's great. But if you don't use it for that, I'm okay. Whatever you decide is yours. And then I have 9 nieces and nephews, and I set up college accounts for all of them, and I wired money into all of those. And so I feel so blessed that if they choose to go to college or trade school or learn something, that they'll have the funds there to help them do that. Because that was just not heard of. I'm obviously the oldest child, and that I'm kind of like a little mom and always try to take care of everyone. And, when I was younger, that was called being bossy. But now I really want to, just pass it on to my own family. And I that was the greatest feeling in the world. And they called me in tears, when the money showed up, because I didn't tell them how much
I
I was
get
going to
it.
give them. I just said, I'm sending a little
Wow.
something. And they were over the moon, incredible. It was just, and I tell people the best thing you can do is give it away if you can. To be generous with others is a very powerful thing. And so I live a pretty modest life, and I'm setting up different scholarships at different schools, and I'm being generous with nonprofit organizations that support kids. And I really believe that there's so much there's so much that focuses on being flashy and getting fast cars and having all of the best jewelry or fancy clothes, whatever it is. And I much rather help the next kid behind me kind of pull themselves up. So
That's amazing. I love that.
thank
You
you.
know?
Thank you. It's been a blessing.
Yeah, I
It's been a
tell you.
gift, and I feel life is good. And it is my
Mm,
faith.
thank
When
you,
people
Lord.
say, "Why are
Yeah,
you here?"
yeah,
I say, "I'm here to be of service to others."
yeah,
And
that's right.
I really believe that. And I feel my company was all about that, being of service to others, and how we operated was about being of service to others. And now that I'm in this fortunate position, I'm still here to volunteer and to help others besides myself. So um, it's an incredible privilege to be where I'm at.
Yeah, I tell you, it is. Thank you, Lord. Okay, Sharon, it has been an interesting, educating, and insightful moment with you on the show. So to bring this to an end, Sharon, what would you like to leave the audience with, like a final thought?
A
And
final thought: I would love to shamelessly share the book I wrote, Cradle to Credit, with uh it's Money Lessons Birth to 18, is available on Amazon. And if any of your readers are interested in checking it out, you can purchase it there. If you want to see what it's kind of what it's like and how I put information together, my website, SharonSoliday.com, in my journal section, like my blog, there's a free download of the entire chapter 15, which talks all about car buying liability insurance. Because all 15-year-olds, or at least many 15-year-olds, think about, I want a car soon. I'm going to get my license. And so there's a lot of information and responsibility related to car ownership. So I just made that chapter free for the public so that they can check it out themselves and see if they might be interested in learning more.
that's so kind of you. I love that. Okay,
Excellent.
so yeah, that's okay. Can you repeat your website again? Can you say it
Sure.
again?
It's my name, SharonSoliday.com. So it's pretty direct. And that website is a place where I have a lot of young adults reach out to me. You'll see it talks a little bit about my background, but if folks have questions, I've had young people contact me for all sorts of things, just in terms of wanting. I had one young man reach out and said, I'm just finishing college. I'm not, all my professors say I should get an MBA and I don't want to do it. He's like, what's your opinion? Should I do it? Will I be more successful? And we ended up chatting on the phone, and I said, well, do you want to do it? And he goes, no. I said, well, don't do it. I said, if you're going to hate it, don't do it. Like
Don't do
that's,
it. Hmm.
yeah. I mean, it's okay not to do it. And education, maybe in 10 years he'll want to do it, but at this point, he just wasn't ready to continue that. He needed to go out into the workforce and chase a different kind of business dream. And so that was great. I said, it's okay to chase your dreams and to figure things out. You're not doing anything wrong. And sometimes I think young people who may not hear that message at home, that it's okay to try different things, and you don't have to have your mind made up in life at 22. I mean, that's hard. So I'm that other maternal voice in their world to say it's okay.
I love that. I
But
love
yes, on that
that.
website, SharonSoliday.com, you can see more about me, but then also read about my book, and that's available. And hopefully somebody will be interested.
Beautiful. Thank you so very much, Sharon. So that's going to be the end of the show. Thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing these, powerful and inspiring words with us. It means a whole lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Elijah.